One of the classic actioneers from The Governator gets a makeover for 2012. Hello there to everyone in cyberspace, and welcome back once again for tuning into RealScreenReviews.com. I am film critic Nick Iacobucci, and our next movie review is the big-budget action film Total Recall. This remake opened on Friday, August 3rd, 2012, and it features the on-screen talents of Colin Farrell, Bryan Cranston, Jessica Biel, Kate Beckinsale, and Bill Nye. This updated Total Recall comes to us from director Les Wiseman, the director of the first two Underworld films and Live Free or Die Hard. This story sees a factory worker named Douglas Quaid that begins to believe that he is an undercover operative. The problem is that there is a world conflict occurring between two rival nations, and he is completely unaware as to which side he belongs to. This version more closely follows the original story from Philip K. Dick and remains on one planet, never traveling into space. As the tale plays out, we will once again meet all of the known characters, but will this new version prove to be just as entertaining as the 20-year-old classic? Well, people, I've heard some folks say that the original Total Recall is cheesy and dated, but I went back and watched the Schwarzenegger/Verhoeven Total Recall just a week ago, and nothing could be further from the truth. Actually, the only thing that has lost a little are the special effects, and you gotta give them a little bit on that one because of the technology that was used 20 years ago. That being said, the 1990s Total Recall is a far better film than this updated one for 2012. For starters, one of the things that made the 90s version so entertaining was the over-the-top and graphic violence that is completely absent from this film. I think this was easily Schwarzenegger's most violent film, and director Les Wiseman has once again taken R-rated source material and completely toned it down for PG-13. He took the Die Hard franchise down to this teen-friendly rating as well, and I didn't think that it helped that series in any way either. What is also gone from this newer version is all of the dark and welcomed humor that helped balance out the graphic action of the previous, and this film revels in its own morose tone and never really lifts itself above its own gloom. Now, Wiseman isn't all bad, and he does have a great visual style, but he also lets the third act dissolve completely out of any sort of narrative and into chases, special effects, chases, and did I mention chases? Now, half of this blame must go to writers Kurt Wimmer and Mark Baumbach that seem to have taken all of the fun out of the movie and replaced it only with CGI and green screen filming. It really makes me wonder what was even written on the pages of the script. In background, you see future city while cars fly by, or audiences will gaze upon ostentatious backdrop while bullets whiz across in gun battle. I think that it would have had to say something like this because they didn't write an interesting movie with interesting dialogue. Also, they weren't even smart enough to construct a story that follows the film's own tagline of "What is real?" Now, this takes me to Colin Farrell, who's getting to be the king of 80s remakes. Now, in last year's Fright Night, he was evil, compelling, believable, and did a lot with a good character. In my opinion, he also stole the show in Horrible Bosses as the worst of the three and displayed great comedic range while doing it. However, here as Douglas Quaid, he does little more than look confused or baffled most of the time and has a stern and serious expression the likes of Jason Bourne for the rest of it. Put simply, he just doesn't have that much to do except from walk from one action scene to another, and to do this in a very perplexed manner. Total Recall also gives us two female leads in Kate Beckinsale and Jessica Biel. Now, for very obvious reasons, Kate Beckinsale has more screen time, and she does what she can with it. This time they have combined the characters of Sharon Stone and Michael Ironside into this one character in her relentless pursuit of her would-be husband. I have always thought of Beckinsale to be so much more than a beautiful face, even when blowing away werewolves, but Total Recall could be the worst performance of her career. Jessica Biel steps in as Melina, and she is also strikingly beautiful, but there's just not much for her to do except to have her jump down and through elevators and tunnels. Now, this new film isn't all bad, and there are some redeeming qualities to it. The film is put together well above average, and the film's special effects are without question stand out. Director of photography Paul Cameron has worked well with Wiseman, creating this futuristic Earth that is not only believable, it is flawlessly shot. However, the standout compliments from me go to production designer Patrick Tatopoulos. His previous work on Underworld, Godzilla, and Independence Day have only prepped him for his best work to date in this film, and the hover cars are nothing short of eye-popping and fantastic. I will also say that even the sets that completely contrast the city involving the controlling empire are just as equally striking and impressive. I also enjoyed the performance of Bryan Cranston as the movie's villain, but Mr. Cranston is always good. At right around 2 hours, Total Recall really didn't live up to its name by becoming rather forgettable and completely non-memorable. What really bothers me is the filmmakers could have sat back and analyzed the original and greatly improved on it, but instead decided to spoon-feed the audience a by-the-numbers actioneer filled with leftover stormtroopers from the mind of George Lucas. The worst part is that the filmmakers chose to abandon all forms of quality storytelling by simply handing us a not even standard but below average remake. My prediction is that 22 years from now, people will still be watching the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Paul Verhoeven Total Recall, and that's because the Colin Farrell, Les Wiseman remake will have long since been forgotten, and no one is going to pay money to remember it. Nick's Real Screen Review is a not recommended, but not dreadful, 2 stars out of 4, and that's for the updated Total Recall. And remember, people, I'm not always right, but only when it comes to the movies, and thank you for your attention.